Sir, how do you see the current socio-economic conditions of Pakistan? And
Pakistan was one of the top developing countries in the world.
how do you witness the role of higher education institutes in contemporary time?
And credit goes to Nisar Ahmed Siddiqui.
Poverty,
Very high.
governance.
Poor.
Welcome to another informative podcast with Campus Chronicles. Today we are having a person who is the custodian of extraordinary talent and attributes. His personality holds great distinctions, nationally and internationally. He is eminent economist, rendered his services in World Bank, served as Governor State Bank of Pakistan. He rendered his expertise in different regimes and above all, in the field of education, he remained dean and director of a reputable institute. We welcome Dr. Ishrat Hussain. Sir, we welcome you in our podcast, Campus Chronicles.
Thank you.
Sir, would you please tell us about yourself, your academic journey, and a move from civil service to be an eminent economist?
Well, I would very gladly share my life story. I attended Government High School, Hyderabad, did my matriculation from there. Then I went to Government College, Hyderabad, did my BSc, and from there I went to University of Sindh, where I did my MSc in chemistry. Then I was awarded a scholarship to go to the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. I did my second master's degree from there, and then I came back to Sindh University as a senior lecturer in chemistry. And I worked there for 2 years, and I prepared for appearing at the Central Superior Services Examination, because at that time, this service was considered the most attractive for young men and women, and was highly competitive. Only few people could actually get selected out of thousands. So it was a challenge for me, and although I was a student of science, but I prepared in subjects which I had no previous knowledge. For example, history of Europe, history of British India, international relations, and with grace of Allah Almighty, I appeared at the exam and I got 6th position in order of merit, first in Sindh. And then I joined the Civil Service Academy in Lahore. This academy used to give 18 months training, and then it was reduced to 9 months, but our batch was there for 18 months. And after completing the training, my first posting was as Assistant Commissioner under training at Khairpur. From there, I moved as Assistant Commissioner Nawabshah, and then got the charge of Shikarpur subdivision. In 1967, the government of Pakistan decided that there would be a interwing transfer, that the West Pakistani civil servants would spend 2 years in East Pakistan, and East Pakistan civil servants would spend 2 years in West Pakistan. So I moved to a place called Patwakhali, which is on Bay of Bengal, and served there as the subdivisional officer. And from there, I was promoted as Additional Deputy Commissioner Chittagong. And then I came to Dhaka as Deputy Secretary Home. And in 1970, when I completed the 2 years, I returned to West Pakistan. One unit was being broken, and I was assigned the job of forming the government of Sindh.
Right.
So on 1st June 1970, we came to Karachi, and there was no office buildings, there were no residences for our officers. So we had to start all from scratch. And that was a big challenge, but all of us worked very hard and established the government of Sindh. And after a while, we had 14 or 15 departments, finance, planning, home department, agriculture, and others, like any other province. And we had to find people from secretary to every section officer and the clerks. So it was a big task. So I completed that task with the help of the chief secretaries and other secretaries. And then I moved to finance department. And there I realized that my knowledge and competence in finance and economics was very weak. How can I actually do any decent work unless I acquire that subject matter knowledge? And as happens in the government, from finance, I went to planning and development. There I realized that the knowledge of economics is very, very important. And so I decided that I would really like to go for higher education in economics, because that's a future in which I can make some contribution. So I was very lucky to get a scholarship to go to Williams College for my master's. And I came back after being number one in the class in Williams College. And I became an additional finance secretary. And then I became additional planning secretary. Again, got a scholarship to go to Boston University to do my PhD in economics. So this is how, from a civil servant who is a generalist, who is not a specialist, I decided that the world is moving towards a specialization. And if you don't have competence and subject matter knowledge in one particular field, you will not be very successful. And that is the reason why I decided that I should not become deputy commissioner, I should not become commissioner, but focus on the economics and the finance.
Really impressive, sir. And we appreciate your patience for pursuing your career in specification rather than in generalization. Sir, you have a very diversified portfolio. You served as a civil servant. Later on, you became the governor, State Bank of Pakistan. So you visualize the socio-economic affairs of the country very closely. Sir, how do you see the current socio-economic conditions of Pakistan, and what do you anticipate for the future?
I think I would preface this, because this is a podcast which will be seen or heard by a lot of students. I wanted to make it very clear that between 1947 to 1990, Pakistan was one of the top developing countries in the world.
True.
We were ahead of India, of Bangladesh, of any other country. Many countries used to send their people to Pakistan to learn as to how Pakistan is doing so great. And that history is not known because none of you were born. Even your parents were not born.
True.
So you don't realize that. That is a country which excelled in all directions. We had no industry. We established all the industries and became one of the largest manufacturing exporter in the world. We didn't have any universities. We didn't have any human resources. They were all Indian Hindus who were, monopolizing this. For a new state to have a complete transformation from scratch to become one of the leading developing countries was a big achievement. But unfortunately, from 1990 onwards, we are lagging behind. And the present situation, you asked the question, is a cumulative result of a lot of mistakes which we made during the last 25, 30, 35 years. First, we didn't have political stability. No prime minister stayed in power more than two and a half years. When you don't have continuity of political regimes, you cannot implement any policies which are long-lasting impact, because you don't know whether you're going to stay in the office tomorrow or not. So you concentrate on the short-term things. So one government starts doing things, it's removed. So all the work which they had done is out of this place. The new government comes in, they start something else, and this something else has not yet been completed, and they are removed, and the third government comes in. This is not what happens. In India, there have been 3 prime ministers between 1999 to 2014, now 2024. Vajpayee, Manmohan Singh, and Narendra Modi. So all the economic policies were continued over this period. Khalda Zia and Hasina Wajid were political rivals, but the economic policies remained the same. Here, the economic policies kept being removed from the scene, new policies being introduced, they were not implemented. That is the main reason why we are in such a bad shape.
Very right, sir. This ad hocism is a problem. Sir, how do you witness the role of higher education institutes in contemporary time? Do you visualize, are they adopting this transformation of technology especially?
You see, it goes back to our entire educational system, right from the primary school. We discourage our children, even in the parents, asking questions. And if you don't ask questions, you are not being able to use your mental abilities. You are being given lecture, you take the notes in the lectures, you don't ask any question of the teacher, or if you ask any teacher, the teacher becomes annoyed. Oh, you are being very smart, you are asking me a question. So they discourage because they don't themselves are prepared for that. The best thing is that there should be no, what I call a one-way street, that the teacher comes on the blackboard, they write everything, and the teachers consider what they have said is all right. The students copy them, memorize them, and reproduce them in the exam, and then they forget about it. That's not the learning. Then we are all very concerned, my grades should be 3.5, 3.6, 4. So I chase the teachers, please raise my grades. No, we are all obsessed not with the acquisition of knowledge, which we can apply in the real life, but in getting a piece of paper. That's why 33% of our graduates in Pakistan are unemployed. Because they don't have anything. I go for interviews of my PhDs. So what have you done at your dissertation? Sir, that was some time ago. I have forgotten. I've never heard anybody who has done a PhD and they cannot describe what they have done in their thesis, because this was all done in order to satisfy the examiners. Nothing in order to retain the knowledge. So this system is not good for Pakistan, because today is a knowledge economy. The higher is your retention, absorption, assimilation of knowledge, the better you can apply them to the real world problems.
Very right, sir.
And that is what the aim of the education should be, not collecting degrees. Google today doesn't require a degree. They have their tests, and if you can pass their tests, certification, you're in. So you don't need a college degree for that. And that's the direction where the world is going.
Very right, sir. I do second your insight, and we need to revise our pedagogical strategies as well to make it student-centered and meet the contemporary needs. Sir, how do you see the role of Sukkur IBA University, specifically recently achieved a remarkable achievement, having double SCSB in business department? So how do you see the
No,
role?
I'm very proud of Sukkur IBA. As you know, it was a part of Karachi IBA, and we decided very rightly that it should now become a completely autonomous, self-standing body. And there were a lot of doubts at that time, but Sukkur IBA has proved that being located in a backward part of Sindh province, catering to the students from the upper Sindh, they have maintained very high standards. And that, I think, is a big achievement. You can do this in Karachi, you can do this in Lahore, you can do this in Islamabad, but to maintain that standard is something very, very commendable. And that's why I keep going to Sukkur IBA and observing as to what they're doing and guiding them and advising them. And the credit goes to Nisar Ahmed Siddiqui. He was a visionary. I mean, he used to go with us to delegations abroad, and he would learn something, and then all of us will just forget about it, but he will try to apply what he had learned. For example, the whole idea of the community college came from his visit with us to the United States.
Yes.
He went and looked at the community colleges, and he said, I'm going to do this. And he did this. And you look, this is a very successful model. My only worry was that what happens after Nisar, Allah usko maghfirat kare, what happens after him? But I'm glad that the faculty is actually carrying on. And this accreditation by ACSB is something which you should be very proud of. But the challenge is that you have to maintain those standards. No sifarish, everything on merit. All the students who need financial aid, you provide the financial aid to them. The examinations should be on time. They should be rigorous. There is no favoritism of any kind. There should no party bazi in the whole students or the teachers. If you avoid that, which has ruined my alma mater, I'm sorry to say, Sindh University, then Sukkur IBA will remain a leader as far as the higher education is concerned.
Very rightly highlighted, sir. So we do endorse your role as well. You had been a great support in Sukkur IBA University. And sir, our university, as you know, it's vision and mission driven, that is community service.
Right.
And we would adhere to this mission. Sir, now it's time for a lighter part of our segment, that is
Okay.
rapid fire.
Okay.
And we would present one word and we would expect from you that you
Okay.
would answer in one word. Sir, the word is economy.
Fragile,
Next, poverty.
very high,
Crisis.
very high,
Governance.
poor,
State bank.
good institution.
That's great, sir. Sir, my last question. Any message you would like to give
Yeah.
to the people of Pakistan in general and youth in particular?
No, I'll only concentrate on youth. People of Pakistan don't need any advice. They have brought this country to this present stage. The youth of this country has to be different from their parents in a very significant way, which is the world is a global village. They have to compete with 198 countries. And it's not the countries which compete, it is the people who compete. It is the firms who compete. It is the institutions which compete. So whatever profession they opt for, they should be not only competent in that, they should be of high ethical character, and they should be very compassionate. If they don't have these attributes, then they will lag behind. Competence alone is not going to work. If you are not displaying highest ethical standards and you are doing cheating and you're doing all kind of shortcuts, success will not be yours. Therefore, my advice to them is continuous learning, continuous improvement, remain very much to your values of integrity, honesty, excellence. And if you do that, then you will be able to compete with the world and you will be able to do well. That is my message.
Quite thought-provoking and insightful message to the youth of Pakistan, and I'm optimist that the message of Sir Ishrat Saab would work like a buzzer for youth. Sir, thank you so much for your valuable
pleasure.
time. Dear viewers, I'm optimist the insight shared by our esteemed guest would work for the betterment of Pakistan. Thank you so much. For future, please stay tuned and subscribe Campus Chronicles. Allah Hafiz.